You're locked into the Random Green channel, Random Green TV podcast. Yes, a video podcast for you to watch and listen. Your choice. Anyway, thank you for stopping by. That's right. That's right. You made it. Yes. You made it to this channel. But today's podcast is going to be the story, an amazing story. The creature from the east side of town. Yes, the east side of town, the creature. So, the creature, they were wondering all these strange events that were happening on the east side of town. And on the east side of town, there was tremors, even earthquakes that measured up 12 on the Richter scale. Just if they even measured to 12, they probably don't. It probably measures up to whatever. I don't know the Richter scale. The earthquakes probably measure to, but I'll have to research that sometime. I probably viewed it before or looked it up, but I couldn't find it. Or I mean, I forgot, obviously. Uh, but I haven't done it recently. Anyway, here on the Ryan and Marine podcast, it's all about randomness. So, getting back to the creature from the east side of town. Yes, the creature from the east side of town. There was earthquakes being measured. There was tremors. There was things that were just smashed. Buildings were in 4,000 or 5,000 different pieces, which is really not a lot if you think about it. But there was nothing major. But well, it is a major thing if there's buildings that are going to be in thousands and millions and billions of pieces. So, yeah, the creature from the east side of town was doing this, and emergency services, the authorities were all trying to figure out what's going on the east side of town because they see all these things like they say tremors, earthquakes, and then aftershocks of the earthquakes, and then there's no fault line. And there was the geology surveyors were out there, and individuals that were out there to see what was going on with the earthquakes. Or there was no earthquakes. It was just, but it was the creature. So one day the authorities just had to come up with a story, but it actually turned out to be a true story. They just had to say this is the creature. There's a creature. There's no other explanation. And the residents of the town of 85,000 were just absolutely bombarded with. They just didn't understand what was going on. They were like, what is going on? This is a town of only 85,000. 85,722 people. And anyway, the others, there was, in the side of town, there was other populations, other populated cities of like 5, 10, 15, 20,000, scattered throughout the area. And they were just so curious about this. And they were like, what's going on? Because they felt it too. Especially on the east side of town. Their east side of town. So, the authorities and agencies were all working to figure this out. But one day, a guy by the name of Miguel Williamson came forward, and he said, you know what? I have to come forward before I annihilate this, because he was mad and angry because, well, it was justified. The authorities never pressed any charges. They said it was justified because, well, the creature had absolute right to do what he was doing, which turned out to be a guy by the name of Miguel Williamson. But they kept on spelling his last name wrong. Yes. They always kept on saying S-O-N, and it's S-E-N. Williamson, not Williamson. I know. Unbelievable. This podcast this podcaster is dumbfounded how they could not spell his name correctly, and rightfully so. And you're probably listening / watching this video podcast thinking, wow, what is going on here? How come they this is justified for him to annihilate buildings and there was earthquakes and tremors. Man, he was like, when he was just getting really upset. Very upset about that. So it's a podcast. It's free. It's all free. If you happen to listen to this video podcast, it's all free. Really, you think about it. I mean, it may be somewhat entertaining. Maybe not much, but I guess it is. This is going to be a shorter podcast. It's not going to be as long as some of the other ones, and I do apologize about that because you probably want to hear me spew hot air. But yeah, the creature from the side of town, the east side of town, did this, and is Miguel Williamson. Not it's S. He got mad because people spelled his name wrong. It's S. It's not S-O-N. It's S-E-N. So Miguel Williamson was upset, and it was truly justified that he did all these things, even though it's not a real story. Believe it or not. Actually, it is. No, it's a sci-fi story. I hope you were able to understand that this was not a real, true story. 90% of the stuff I say is hot air anyway. Well, that's kind of hot air anyway. What I said about 90%, it's probably at 99.999%. So, thank you very much for listening / watching this video podcast. Remember, remember the story. If you're by Miguel Williamson, make sure to never spell his name wrong or say his name wrong. It's not Williamson, it's Williamson. Thank you very much for listening / watching this video podcast. Remember, that's deja vu you're having probably. All right. Oh, later. Thank you.